I can't believe it. This is my opening, obviously. This is my opening now. Oh, God. It is July 25, 2025. I hope you're all doing well. We're almost through July. And, well, 7 months of 2025 has not been very good. And guess what? Unfortunately, yeah, things are going to get a lot worse. Thomas Bishop, hello. Mary Mack, hello. Oh, boy. You have no idea how much I rely on the supportive, nice subscribers that I have. Thank you. Kathleen O'Brien, hello. So, the reason why I chose this topic is because I received emails from a subscriber who's targeted, and this is just going to get an awful lot worse too. Sorry to say. But the targeted, specifically a targeted, I'm sensitive. I could be targeted with the psychological programs, which I might get into tomorrow. But the targeting, the stalking, the hitting with psychotronic weapons, they live an experience that not a whole lot of people believe and talk about living hell. So I just wanted to share an article that I saw, and also the chemical sensitivity. This is not specific targeting. But years ago, and I posted on this, there was a study that stated that people who are chemically sensitive, they are also, it's kind of linked to the hypersensitivity to the electromagnetic frequencies. So, but the hardest part of any kind of suffering is the lack of compassion and the lack of people in your life that believe you. So, to the targeted, I believe you. I believe you. Let me just do radar quickly. The nanobots are activating. The nanobots are activating. Doppler radar down here in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Missouri. Already today and yesterday, Chicago had really bad storms. They had flash flooding today. Will it get worse? I don't know. But look at Connecticut, Northeast, and Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York City, and Connecticut. Not looking good. Not looking good. So these are extremely low frequencies that you are seeing. The straight lines, okay, those are extremely low frequencies. They can come from the high frequencies emitted by Doppler radar, pushing up the ionosphere. When they let that power go of the frequency, the ionosphere comes shooting back down. It's the most powerful of all of the levels of the atmosphere, ionosphere, shooting back down with extremely low frequencies. The extremely low frequencies that you are seeing come from Gwen towers, which are different from cell towers. Extremely low frequencies, they can track you individually, literally. They can entrain your brain. They can change people's views and opinions, behavior with these extremely low frequencies. So it's not just for weather modification. They can make people physically sick, mentally sick, spiritually sick, and control people's minds. So when we see them close to, these weather, I don't know what to call them anymore. Are these weather fronts? Mother Nature has been put into retirement, and we see these blips that activate into supercells all over the place. And this has been going on for a very long time, like here in Florida. And when we see these frequencies very close to these weather fronts or hitting the weather fronts, you can be pretty confident that they are also used for weather modification. They can emit these frequencies through the ground and or into the atmosphere. So 16 active severe weather warnings for Connecticut, Indiana, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Virginia. All right, doesn't stop. It's not stopping. And an awful lot of people every single day are suffering the consequences, whether it's flooding or trees landing on their homes, busting through their homes or their cars. All right, so a lot of special marine warnings appear northeast, New York, Connecticut. Severe thunderstorm warnings for New Jersey and New York in the counties of Essex, Hudson, Union, Kings, Queens, and Richmond. Indiana and Ohio, the counties Wayne, Darke, Preble. Pennsylvania, Armstrong. Indiana, Westmoreland. Pennsylvania again, Berks and Lehigh. Ohio, Hardin and Logan. Massachusetts and Rhode Island, you have Bristol, Plymouth, Bristol, Kent, Newport, Providence. Virginia, Fauquier and Prince William counties. Pennsylvania again, Cumberland, Dauphin, Lebanon, Perry, Schuylkill, Skull, is it Skull? You know what I mean. York counties. And also Connecticut, New Haven, New York and New Jersey, Essex, Hudson, Union, Kings, Nassau County, that's Long Island, New York, Queens, New York City, and Queens. Well, New York City is, that doesn't make any sense. It should be Manhattan if it's New York City, because New York City has 5 boroughs. Queens is one of them, and also Richmond. So Virginia, Augusta, Rockingham, Harrisonburg City, Staunton City, Waynesboro City. And the special marine warnings, if you're close to any of these up here in these areas, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York, and on down, it's pretty much stops at New Jersey. Then click on the link, because it can cause severe thunderstorms, which bring about everything to us now. Tornadic active. How many tornadoes in Wisconsin yesterday? Okay, so they bring about tornadic activity, large hail, flash flooding, downbursts, microbursts, hurricane winds, very destructive weather that we have now. Oh, um, wait 1 second. I'm wanting to. Your dear friend died last night, pancreatic cancer and stroke. Just diagnosed 2 weeks ago. My son's mother-in-law. So sad. Please pray for our family. This is Miss Blanche, and I'm very sorry to hear that. Diagnosed 2 weeks ago. It was your son's mother-in-law? I'm very sorry. A whole lot of people are dying. A whole lot of people are dying. Eva Rosenthal, hello. Ty Zillego, Linda Garden. Westchester has been hit. Perhaps not the, what is it, the Rockefellers? Yeah. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. She went fast. Okay. But yeah, I mean, a whole lot of people are dying, and they have their own genocide going on all over the world. But to a lot of us, it's obvious. Our food is now poisoned. Our water is poisoned. The air is poisoned. Those new products are poisoned. Not even the new products from 2020, but even before, that was poison. The electromagnetic frequencies, our entire environment has been taken over by evil. And I just not quite sure how people are going to be able to just continue to go on. All right. So, yeah, lots of severe weather warnings, and please take this seriously. The radar link is in the chat, and you've got to be checking weather several times a day, because they can activate these nanobots whenever they want to bring about supercells, destructive weather. Yes, weather modification playlist on this channel. Several videos are devoted to nanotechnology being used in creating weather. Oh, and Ryan Hall, I will link below. You might want to check this out. I wish I could find this potential rain intensity forecast for reciprocal water site. I couldn't. You might have to, it might be in another name of the site that just has a lot of different maps, but I did come across this, and this is the first time that I've come across this. I'm putting the link in. I'm telling you, please be smart and check out several sites. Bookmark these sites, because a lot of people are experiencing a whole lot of flooding. It's destroying their homes. And if you could have a jump on mainstream media, what they're telling you, you might be able to save some of your most important items. But in looking at this one, this is the 7-day forecast. All right, so 1-day forecast, you have an awful lot of the purple is rain, and as you go, towards the red, it's more rain. So today what do you have? You have an awful lot of rain here in Kansas, in Iowa, little pockets, but I'm going to have to look into how to use this interactive map because I can't seem to interact with it. But also quite a bit of rain down here, Alabama, Mississippi, a lot of rain down here. So for those who live in this area, right on the coast of Mississippi and Alabama, be careful. But the 7-day forecast, you're getting a lot of rain, a whole lot of rain along the coast. Now, again, you're going to have to look at this, to figure out how to use it. I'm sure there's a way that you can get daily forecasts, but the 7-day forecast is looking pretty scary, actually, for the panhandle of Florida, for the coast of Alabama, the coast of Mississippi, into Louisiana, and because I know subscribers who live in that area, that's why I'm highlighting this. Now, does it mean that this is absolutely going to come and flood out your... No, because we have these forecasts, and they are known to change quite a bit. You can tell by the fabulous titles of these YouTube meteorologists here. Ryan Hall today, a huge pattern change is coming. And he said, wow, we've had a lot of flooding this year. Says this whole intense water vapor in the clouds that you're seeing from Kansas, Missouri, into Illinois, Indiana, right on up to Michigan and North Ohio is unusual. Okay, we know what's happening, and
way too often, in my opinion.
This amount of rain, there's going to be flooding somewhere. Okay. And YouTube meteorologists, it's like I see the titles, and every day they're like, oh, wow, this has turned into a real dangerous storm. All right. I don't want any of you to experience the consequences of weather warfare. Okay, so subscriber, hit with frequencies and look at her leg. Look at this. All right. Now, because I was walking around an area in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and didn't see the Gwen Tower just 2 stories down, and I was walking around barefoot, which is the most dangerous position you can put yourself in around Gwen Towers. Remember those frequencies from Gwen Towers? They can go out 300 miles, okay? And I was literally just feet away, a stone's throw, as they say. And I would come back, I wouldn't see, it looked like I had what I called like a sunburn, sometimes right up to, the top of my knees, and my legs would be swollen. I had no clue where this was coming from until it was like, how they show in movies, like something suddenly comes into focus, and I'm just walking around, and it came into focus, that Gwen Tower It was the coffee shop where they had this enclosed backyard, and I knew the owner. I could bring my dogs there where they could just run around, and I'd be walking barefoot, as I usually did during the summer. Came into focus, and I was like, holy shit. So I did a lot of research on Gwen Towers. Most dangerous position. This was I have it still on my on a playlist, but most dangerous position is barefoot. So when you hear people saying, ground yourself, get out there, walk around barefoot, make sure you don't have a Gwen Tower somewhere nearby. So yeah, a subscriber. And if you're listening, I'm really sorry. Nobody should have to live this. No one should have to live this. Okay, so what did she write? Which I got permission to share some of it. I sent this to a few people. Nobody believes me. Targeted 11 years. Why? Long story. I caught a bank fraud by my bank insurance company. I'll bet someone out there knows 7 blocks in all directions were involved, and dropping names doesn't help me, but very often people are literally targeted when they bring in law enforcement or they actually fight any kind of fraud by their banks or insurance companies. Anyway, I finally caught a pattern and took a photo. You don't feel these things until they itch. In moments, they swell, get red, and itch for hours. And that reminds me of Jamie Lee. Yeah. Who I believe was taken out. Why can't I remember his channel name? A Plain Truth. Thank you, brain. A Plain Truth. And he was experiencing, just suffering from feeling itchy all over. So the next shot was the night after I sent these out. I hung on to them until I cleaned the camera. Second shot is moments after getting hit. Swells fast, no evidence, just looks like a big hive. It's not. My message: people won't help when this happens. Even family will fade away. We've had rocks thrown, bolts loosened, tires punctured, gang stalked, kidnapped at gunpoint, and $10,000 stolen, stuff missing, betrayal, so much more. They even bribe your kids and close family if they can. I've heard this from other people. Money gets people to do anything. Okay. This is a nightmare that I just, none of us ever want to live. And in a good society, this does not happen. So, I also came across this article, which I will post on War College, Army War College site, and the link is in the chat. And I'm just going to read off some of these psychotronic weapons, and then I'm going to get into today's technology, the gateway to psychotronic weapons, and the reprogramming of humanity. This is happening. It's undeniable, but a whole lot of people have a interesting brain where they can deny what's right smack in front of them. It's really, well, very frustrating. But specific types of weapons, and this is from a Russian army major. So specific types of weapons, a psychotronic, I got to pull this over a bit. A psychotronic generator, which produces a powerful electromagnetic emanation capable of being sent through telephone lines, TVs, radio networks, supply pipes, and incandescent lamps. Boy, they have us cornered, huh? An autonomous generator, a device that operates in the 10 to 150 hertz band, which at the 10 to 20 hertz band forms an infrasonic oscillation that is destructive to all living creatures. A nervous system generator designed to paralyze the central nervous system of insects, which could have the same applicability to humans. Ultrasound emanations, which one institute claims to have developed devices using ultrasound emanations, are supposedly capable of carrying out bloodless internal operations without leaving a mark on the skin. They can also be used to kill. They can literally blow up your organs. Noiseless cassettes. Japanese developed the ability to place infra-low frequency voice patterns over music patterns that are detected by the subconscious. Russians claim to be using similar bombardments with computer programming to treat alcoholism or smoking. The 25th frame effect, alluded to above, a technique wherein each 25th frame of a movie reel or film footage contains a message that is picked up by the subconscious. This technique, if it works, could possibly be used to curb smoking and alcoholism, or used for mind control. But it has wider, more sinister applications if used on a TV audience or a computer operator. Yes, they can send it through computer screens. Psychotropics, defined as medical preparations used to induce a trance, euphoria, or depression, referred to as slow-acting minds. They could be slipped into the food or of a politician or into the water supply of an entire city. Symptoms include headaches, noises, voices, or commands in the brain, dizziness, pain in the abdominal cavities, cardiac arrhythmias, or even the destruction of the cardiovascular system. Oh, so much is going on. Now, again, yeah, I would suggest that you click on the link. It's only 7 pages, but I want to go now to that article that was inspired by The Mind Has No Firewall. That's the name of this article. The mind has no firewall. Sorry, you just can't block out a whole lot of the frequencies, and a whole lot are living in Wi-Fi, using the cell phones, and you got cell towers near you. You have extremely low frequency Gwen towers. And again, what is obvious, the Gwen system was decommissioned in the 70s. All right, just in case you don't know the difference between a Gwen tower and a cell tower, this is the difference. All right. Now, you may see one of these or two of these. They litter our interstates all over the country. This is where the extremely low frequencies come from, through the ground and or into the atmosphere. They can use these emissions to modify the weather, mind control the masses, and cause an awful lot of physical, mental, spiritual problems for people. And they don't know where, a whole lot of people just don't know where a whole lot of what they're feeling is coming from, right? They don't attribute it to the Wi-Fi that they're living in, or their cell phone usage, or but if you have one of these, and yeah, go on Google Earth. For some reason, I can't access Google Earth anymore, but I used to go on all the time. You'll discover these in forests, up mountains, in wooded areas, around residences and suburbs. And this is from the main Cutler extremely low frequency military transmitter site. So yes, they can use these, and we have these sites in the military sites in many areas of the country. But if they decommissioned the Gwen system, which is ground wave emergency network, in the 70s, why were these instruments with the copper wiring going down to the ground in a perfect 360, why were they literally constructed to litter the interstates? And there were so many all over the country. This happened after they decommissioned this emergency network. Gee, I wonder if they're using it as a weapon of mass destruction. All right, so the article written by Dr. Igor Shepard, he and his wife became targeted. I can't, let me see if I can, does he have maybe a Substack? No, that goes, I can't post a link to Lou Rockwell, but if you just put in the title into a search, you will get this article. Humanity is facing a challenging turning point ahead as the new global system readies to reset the world's governments by the year 2030. This is the United Nations' sinister Sustainable Development Scheme, which will completely restructure society and laws and pulverize the free will of every human being. And frankly, I think it's been pulverized. These freedom-stealing sustainable development goals have already been adopted into American society, and yet the majority of citizens respond to this infringement of their rights with a passive, even the awake crowd, a passive, whatever, who cares attitude. Yeah, American patriots have a long history of laying their lives down for their freedoms. Why are they surrendering them now without resistance? If you think about that, and you haven't done anything to educate, to try to, combat the evil that is taking place, you're passive. Doesn't matter if you say you care. Well, I'm sorry, you're passive. You have to wonder, were you always like that? You may have been. And changing is very difficult for an awful lot of people, apparently. But if you recognize all of the substances that we are subjected to now, and then you couple that with your resistance, you'd be able to fight it. You'd be able to fight the passiveness that has taken you over. Did you put the title in, Tony? The title of the article? So, there is no soft way to answer this question. Our government has been using directed energy weapons and psychotronic mind weapons on the populations to manipulate thought processes so that the upcoming Great Reset transitions without mass mutiny by the people. So the psychotronic weapons, the report, electromagnetic weapons and human rights, there's a lot of very good information, by the way, that is embedded in the article or the footnotes at the end of the article for anybody who's doing some research on this. And it was written by Peter Phillips, professor of sociology at Sonoma State University, and others, the director of Project Censored. The report, this research explores the current capabilities of the U.S. military to use electromagnetic devices to harass, intimidate, and kill individuals, and the continuing possibility of violations of human rights by the testing and deployment of these weapons. Well, I think a lot of us get that those people in government offices don't give a shit about human rights, don't care about individual rights, don't care about the Constitution. They're just doing whatever the hell they want to do. Why? Because they get away with it, because too much of the population has been passive, certainly my entire life. I can verify from my own experience that every word in the above research report is accurate and that mind-altering weapons are being targeted against American citizens. For the last year, both my wife June and I have been victims of a psychotronic weapon attack perpetrated by the U.S. government, which has caused us bodily harm, mental torment. No surprise. Since 2019, we have both exposed that 2020 hoax, the weaponized, that new product in 2020, Agenda 2030, and other corrupt and fraudulent practices. Our government and foreign governments are using harmful technology as weapons of warfare against the mental and physical health of populations worldwide. Do not think for one moment that any government will spend billions of dollars to develop directed energy weapons to attack a few political dissidents. No. This type of weaponized system is highly sophisticated and expensive warfare and developed to restructure and dominate the minds of the masses into obedient and easily controlled lapdogs. The Gwen system decommissioned in the 70s, all of those towers, all of the antennas with the copper wiring going down to the ground is all over our country. It's a system, a weaponized system. Directed energy weapons of the mind are not new technology. The Russians themselves claim they are in the 5th generation of mind-controlling directed energy weapon development. The Russians and the Americans work together. They have been. There really was no Cold War. There was no reason for the duck and cover. All right. This is true. Their technology on how to create a controlled beam of energy from far distances to harm human targets can be traced back as far as 1920. The testing stages were surpassed long ago, and they are now superweapons of mass suppression and destruction. Psychotronic weapons are directed energy weapons and defined as weapons that aim to control or modify the psyche or attack the sensory and data processing systems of the human organisms. Yes. The human being, they modeled the computer, the data processing system, after the human being. So, yes, they can, unfortunately, create for an awful lot of people. Just life becomes a nightmare. So, the data processing systems of the human organism, with the goal of confusing or destroying the signals that normally keep the body in equilibrium. You're feeling dizzy a lot? Other mind-altering weapons that fall under directed energy weapons are neuroweapons, high-energy radio frequency weapons or influence weapons, lasers, high-powered microwaves, non-nuclear electromagnetic pulse, sound or acoustic weapons, infrasound weapons, ultrasound weapons. All these weapons harm both the mind and the physical health of the body. Today's runaway and unregulated technologies have submerged humanity and the environment into an unparalleled, unprecedented, harmful levels of electromagnetic fields. Symptoms of EMF include skin inflammation. Wow. Huh. Headaches, nausea, dizziness, tinnitus, sleep disorders, fatigue, fibromyalgia, heart arrhythmia, memory loss, brain fog, anxiety, mood disorders, and thoughts of suicide. That's just a few of the symptoms, probably the most common. On February 2nd, 1998, the U.S. Army War College Quarterly published an amazing article, The Mind Has No Firewall, 1998. Did I tell you the date? I guess not. 1998. By Timothy Thomas, titled The Mind Has No Firewall. He addresses a truth that few citizens ever think about, and that is the simple logic that the human body was formed much like a computer. Well, let's just say that the computer was formed much like a human body, because I think the human body came first. Okay. Containing countless data processors. That's right in here. Brain to feet. Our brain is extremely unique, and without its constant signaling to the other parts of our body, our physical, cognitive, and emotional state would be out of balance and impaired, even causing death. Every human being should be required to read Mr. Thomas's article, because the advancements in technology today, from that point to now, 1998 to now, oh boy, a lot of advancements, are extremely damaging to human health and can be used as weapons against us individually or as an entire populace. Humans can be hijacked, destroyed, and eliminated just as easily as a computer that has been infected with a destructive and irreparable virus. Our cell phones, our computers, our TVs, our cars, and the chips in our credit cards all track our whereabouts, allowing the controllers to know where we stand, travel, eat, and sleep. They have gotten the world so dependent on their Wi-Fi gadgets and the convenience they provide, that the people have surrendered their privacy and freedoms and allowed their governments across the world to confine them within an invisible wall of harmful radio frequencies, wireless signals, and excessive electromagnetic fields. All of these gadgets, like cell phones and laptops, are gateways to psychotronic weapons. If the government does not like you, they will track you from every device you own. They will follow your signals in the brain from the satellites above and aim highly advanced directed energy weapons at your brain while you sleep, or use radios and phone lines to send unhealthy electromagnetic impulses or pulses. We are now living in a precarious time where the human body is being manipulated and debilitated on a daily basis without our knowledge or consent. And like Mr. Thomas's article warns, computers have firewalls, but our minds do not. We are constant open targets for all governments whose aim is to reset society by 2030 and keep citizens tightly surveilled and controlled during the final takeover. We're close to that point. Sadly, we as a people allowed them to imprison us under their technology, and they now own us. The most ambitious and chilling of the USSR's goals for the Soviet Russia. Goals for mind weapon programs provides a clear explanation on why humanity is not told the truth about the ill effects of the human body caused by today's Wi-Fi and radio frequency technology. They are controlling human behavior from a far distance using electromagnetic fields. 300 miles, those frequencies, from the weaponized Gwen towers, creating physical and biological influence and harm on humans using electromagnetic fields, magnetic fields, and acoustic waves without their knowledge, erasing information from the brain using electromagnetic fields, creating a new race of biorobots using distant influencing of populations with the goal to create an obedient and loyal people to the government and its political system, pre-placing psychotronic weapons in space satellites with the goal of controlling and managing the populations. October 2nd, 2001. Remember Dennis Kucinich's introduction of HR 2977, the Space Preservation Act of 2001. It didn't just try to ban chemtrails, but he was certainly aiming to outlaw space-based weapons and ultra-low frequencies, extremely low-frequency weapon systems, the Gwen system, including psychotronic weapons that were directed at individuals or populations for mood management and mind control. The bill was referred to the House Committee on Science, Armed Services, and International Relations and expediently vetoed. The USSR Secret Service conducted vaccinations on the population, secretly injecting almost 30% of the population with micro-schematic chips. The chips, which were nano-sized, the chips, once injected, allowed recipients to be radio-controlled and tested with radio frequencies. This resulted in creating controlled robots for the Soviets' ideological manipulations. And there's not just one weapon, and that's it. I see so many people who definitively state it's this weapon. Well, they have so many different weapons. All right. This would explain why that new product that came out in 2020, that technology was used in the development of that new product, allowing for easy transport of genetic and other added nanoscale materials directly into our cells. So also, when you see that ripple of the clouds, the microwaves in the atmosphere, when they actually become visible, do you think it's just up there? No. We're all surrounded now. We are literally saturated in these frequencies. They affect every cell of your body. Yes, I have a playlist. Never can remember the name of it, but I think it starts with Wi-Fi and electromagnetic frequency, all of the documents and the proof that yes, they affect everything in your body, everything. Your blood, your cells, your muscles, your brain, all organs, everything. So you have an awful lot of people who are sensitive and who understand where they got their sensitivity, but you also have an awful lot of people who are chronically ill, never attributing their illness to the Wi-Fi that they're sitting in, or the saturation of all of the toxins in our environment. But a whole lot willfully ignore all of the information that could make them feel better, but they, no, it's not that. And I love the convenience that I can carry my laptop around and I don't have a cord in my house. Well, it's killing you, all right? You have a condition, it's making it worse. Medical condition. All right, so we've been breathing in an awful lot of the nanoscale material that they've been spraying for decades. We're seeing behaviors of people that we never saw before. No. And the kind of behavior that unfortunately leaves other people suffering the consequences of their shitty behavior. And are they being controlled? Who knows? So the author and his wife, their nightmare began mid-2024. His wife began feeling severe pain in her left ear. Antibiotics and over-the-counter medications did nothing to bring relief. Then sporadic body tremors and brain fog hit her, which provided a clue to a strong electromagnetic field going on inside our home. A few days later, a nerve-wracking radio frequency squealing sound battered our ears and brain, along with constant ringing and pressure. Upon examination, I noticed a red raw laser-like burn in his wife's left ear canal. The sound, like a hot wired energy ray, intensified at night, mainly between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. Our entire bodies heated up like a microwave, and our blood pressure soared. We could not get relief from the intensity of the torment on our mental and physical health. We were sleeping with metal and copper sheets over our heads to try and block the wave, but those barriers were useless. The pressure and sound became so unbearable at night that we fled our home to live in various hotels each night. But that beam of energy followed us. Oh, wow. They can lock on to your frequencies in your brain. Once they lock on, they got you. We were confused and baffled because none of our neighbors heard the sound or felt sick. He also experienced a rapid weight loss of about 40 pounds, lost the majority of muscle mass in his entire body. Hair started falling out. I went to the doctor and he prepared me for the possibility that I had cancer. Okay, it turned out he didn't have cancer. He resigned his job. This is really screwing up people's lives, big time. He resigned from his job. He moved from his home, hoping that by relocating to another state, we would get our life back. Instead, that mind weapon followed us from state to state. As we drove across the country, we noticed newly erected, sky-high radio towers. This. When you're driving on the interstates, they line the interstate. Sometimes you'll see one, and then maybe a quarter of a mile, another one, or another quarter of a mile, you'll see two back to back. Sometimes there's an area where it borders Pennsylvania and I want to say Maryland, or I came across, I can't remember what interstate it was. On one side of the interstate, there were like 25 of these. It was a transmitter, military site. 25 on one side. On the other side, about another 20. Are they manipulating the weather with those? Yes. Are they controlling the masses with these? Yes. Yes. So, so he suspected the frequencies had destroyed his health. I was right. A full body scan showed no cancer. So, drove across the country. We noticed newly erected sky-high radio towers, strategically located mile after mile, approximately quarter to a half mile apart on every highway, back road, in every rural town, busy city, and in every state. Next to these radio Goliaths, tall cell towers had also been raised. These towers enabled the high-pitched energy to continually assault our ears, and we suspected that our cell phones were transmitting signals of our whereabouts by those innumerable radio towers. We were correct in our assessment regarding our phones. When we started parking a good distance away from our hotel rooms and leaving our phones in the car, we felt relief from that pitch, the high pitch. We drove to the eastern coast and lodged at an extended stay hotel for a month and felt joy to get our minds back. But when our Arizona car tabs, listen to this, when our Arizona car tabs expired and we had to register our cars in the new state, we provided the DMV with our hotel address. The following day, the pitch came back, and we had to bolt from that hotel. We drove across the border to a neighboring state. We let our guard down a few months later and believed we were free from the attack. We badly wanted to settle and moved into a nice house. But a week later, within 8 hours of updating our address at the Social Security office, we were hit again with that weapon, causing us to flee our home again and return to the previous hotel. It was obvious the U.S. government was involved because every time we updated any information with a government agency, the hits came back. 2018, Stu Magnuson wrote an article, National Defense, titled Exclusive Doctors Reveal Details of Neuroweapon Attacks in Havana. His article divulges the truth behind the mysterious 2017 attacks on American personnel while employed at the U.S. Embassy in Havana, Cuba. 3 expert physicians Dr. Giordana. Oh, wow. I didn't know that he was involved with this. So these three doctors, Balaban and Hoffer and Giordana, investigated the 25 cases of reported illnesses and concluded that directed energy weapons, more precisely a series of wide-scale electronic neuroweapon attacks, caused the disruption and damage to the victims' brains. So, do attacks in Havana, and it wasn't just Havana, but other embassies in other countries. Do attacks in Havana did not happen at the embassy or in one location, but took place at numerous locations: the victim's home or at a hotel. The targeted employees reported that it felt as though an invisible beam of energy had zeroed in on their whereabouts inside their dwelling places and would only stop when they opened the front door. As well, the attack seemed individually personalized because other personnel did not experience any of what these victims were experiencing, strongly suggesting the sophistication of these psychotronic weapons in being able to lock in on individuals. Okay. Putin, this is his quote from years ago: "Such high-tech mind weapons systems will be comparable in effect to nuclear weapons, but will be more acceptable in terms of political and military ideology." That pretty much sums it up, right? The invisibility of these weapons gives, any military the plausibility, coverage that they may need, but there are, frankly, I think millions and millions who are certainly suffering because of their sensitivity to the saturation of these electromagnetic frequencies. But there are countless targeted individuals. There are so many different programs. Also, there are psychological programs, which I may get into tomorrow. These programs, they literally can go to a neighbor of yours, knock on the door, ask to come in, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and claim that they're investigating you. And would your neighbors keep an eye out on what your neighbor is doing and what you're doing? Some are paid, but some are so young, immature, that they feel like, wow, I've been selected to keep an eye out on my neighbor. Well, that gives me a little bit of power, right? Ooh, ego. An ego flush is what they feel. All right, there's a lot more to this article. And let me see if I can. All right, here are the references. A lot of good links to more information. And I can't get to this article. But again, you can get to this article just by putting the link in, or the name, the title of the article: "Today's Technology, the Gateway to Psychotronic Weapons and the Reprogramming of Humanity." And this is exactly what they're doing. Has it gotten worse throughout the years? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have to think for yourself? Am I being controlled? Am I behaving, uncharacteristically? Am I suddenly feeling angry, outraged, or depressed, or that just kind of comes on suddenly and you're not sure why? Could be frequencies. So when I think about, and I've said this in live streams, there was a specific intersection in Anderson, South Carolina, with a hospital on one side, a fire station with a brand new, very powerful antenna across the street. All of the frequencies coming from the medical offices, not just the hospital, but the medical office across that street, on top of the hospital, the fire station, and twice. And no, I don't think I was targeted. I think I was lucky. Boom, got hit with a pretty powerful frequency. The suddenness of the most intense abdomen pain, I was like doubled over, literally. It lasted for maybe 2 minutes. The suddenness of it on set and the suddenness of it leaving, though, it kind of left a residual pain that just kind of faded. I often think about the targeted individuals who have to deal with this pretty much on a daily basis because they're specifically targeted, and a whole lot are in crippling pain. That pain was so intense, I will never forget it. All right, now, those who have chemical sensitivity. This was a very good and long article, and it's a Wired article. The link is in the chat. I believe it's still on a playlist on my channel. The video, when they were talking about people who have chemical sensitivity, are usually also sensitive to the electromagnetic frequencies. The title, The Next Thing You Smell Could Ruin Your Life. I have this. This was handed to me by the FDA for putting medications on the market as safe. First year law school. First year law school. Law school is kind of like boot camp. And you have assigned seats in first year of law school. You can't move them. That's it. This is where you sit. Okay. The woman behind me was, a younger woman. Well, I'm sitting at the end of the row, right by the steps. She came in, walked up the steps, and right as she passed me, it felt like somebody smashed me in the face. Her perfume, I couldn't believe. It was like an assault. It came on that quickly. I used to use perfume. I used to wear perfume. I never had chemical sensitivity until that day. She walked past me. Thank God she was somebody, well, she also understood, that this was it. A year of law school with me, experiencing that from her perfume. She was so nice about it. She apologized. She said, I won't wear it. I said, maybe you could just wear a little less. She never wore it again. And to this day, I thank you. But I realized after that, I thought maybe she was just wearing too much. It was my nose. It was what I was smelling. And it literally, I nauseous, headache, brain fog, all of that kind of stuff set in. I was amazed. And again, I'm very fortunate because I know that people really suffer from chemical sensitivity. I never understood it. I never understood. And when I would listen to people who had chemical sensitivity, some of my friends, and I'd listen, I didn't understand. And I kind of thought they were exaggerating. I certainly didn't judge them openly, but I had questions in my mind. Well, that day, yeah, look out for what you judge, because it might be inside you, or you might get to experience, what other people are experiencing. Millions of people suffer debilitating reactions in the presence of certain scents and chemicals. One scientist has been struggling for decades to understand why, as she battles the condition herself. This is a long article. I'm going to read some of it, but I'm running out of time. It's horrible. It's horrible. In Idaho, there was this thrift store, which was absolutely magnificent. Never been to a thrift store that sold incredible furniture, incredible things, incredible clothing, even for $4. It was like a cedar chest that was quite, large, $4. But I would go, and they started using some kind of I don't know what it was, an electronic mist of fragrance into the store. First time I walked in, it again felt like I was being assaulted. It was so horrible that there were some days when it was a little bit less of that fragrant smell, but I could hardly spend much time in that store at all. First couple of times, I had to leave because I could feel the nausea, I could feel the headache coming on, and I just walked out. A lot of people do not, they judge it. They judge it. Okay. In the home where I was staying with the subscriber, during the winter, she was doing a lot of painting and her craft work. And my bedroom, where she was doing it in the kitchen, it was very close. And there were times when the fumes were coming into the bedroom. And I thought, oh, this is not good, not good. And the only time I said something was she was using paint thinner. But I was worried about her because there was no ventilation. Using paint thinner, no windows open, no ventilation. It was coming into the bedroom, and it was making me sick. And I said, you don't have any ventilation? I was like, oh my God. But what other people can deal with, well, the more you use that kind of stuff with no ventilation, eventually you're going to become sensitive. And it's not fun. It's not fun. I use, all of the products that don't have fragrances and unscented everything. And, when in stores, I'll walk past somebody with cologne or perfume, and I'm like, ugh. But again, I don't think I have it as bad as an awful lot of people. After my birth, this is the woman who wrote this. After my birth, my mother became allergic to the world. And birth, pregnancy. I think a lot of pregnant women suddenly become like they can't stand the smell of certain things. So after this author's birth, my mother became allergic to the world. That's the only way I knew how to put it. So many things could set her off. New carpeting, air fresheners, plastic off-gassing. Yep. How about those bags? You get the unscented bags, and sometimes there's none of them, so you have to get a scented garbage bag, and it is absolutely horrendous. Now, for those who are chemically sensitive, they can smell it rooms away. Seriously. It's almost become, it's like the sensitivity exaggerates, not in a false way, the fumes that come off things. I'd like for people to stop judging people. That's what I would really like, because that's another thing that's really harsh, you know. The chemical sensitivity is real, and people really suffer from it. You know, I'll get some symptoms, but I think, relatively, you know, if it's a scale of sensitivity to insensitivity, I'm somewhere in the middle. But what I've heard from other people, it's really bad. But a whole lot of the medications they're put on the market can induce these sensitivities, not just to chemicals, light sensitivity, auditory sensitivity. So on top of it, she developed terrible food allergies. The sound of her sniffling became the chorus of my childhood. Some days she couldn't get out of bed. I'd peek into her darkened room and see her face pinched in discomfort, her joints ached, her head swam. Doctors suggested that maybe she was depressed or anxious. Well, you'd be anxious too if you couldn't lick an envelope, couldn't pick up your daughter in the car. She tried allergists, got nowhere. Finally, she found a way to holistic health, whose practitioners told her she had something called multiple chemical sensitivity. All right, so as long as people have complained that man-made stuff in their environment causes health problems, migraines, and asthma, and exhaustion, mood swings, and a whole lot more, it makes you irritable as well. The medical establishment has largely dismissed them. The American Medical Association, World Health Organization, the American Academy of Asthma, Allergy, Immunology don't recognize chemical sensitivity as a diagnosis. If they talk about it at all, they tend to dismiss it as psychosomatic, a malady of the neurotic. Yes. And health obsessed. Why these authorities wondered, would people react to minute traces of a huge array of chemicals, and why couldn't they ever seem to get better? This isn't some trivial affliction. Roughly a quarter of American adults report some form of chemical sensitivity. And it lives alongside chronic pain, fibromyalgia, as both evidently real and resistant to mainstream diagnosis or treatment. My mom tried 1,000 things: diet, antihistamines, lymphatic massage, antidepressants, acupuncture, red light therapy, saunas, heavy metal detoxes. Sometimes her symptoms eased, but she never got better. Her illness ruled our lives, dictating what products we bought, what food we ate, where we traveled. I felt there had to be an answer why this was happening. It didn't take me long to learn that if there was one, it would be with Claudia Miller. Did I put the link into this article? Because I bet some who are listening might have chemical sensitivity. I don't have time to continue reading the excerpts, but lot of very good information. Miller proposed a career-defining theory of how people succumb to this condition. It came with a technical-sounding name, toxicant-induced loss of tolerance, and a convenient acronym, TILT, toxic-induced loss of tolerance. You can lose tolerance after one severe exposure, Miller says, or after a series of small exposures. A switch is flipped. Could they do that with electromagnetic frequencies? Yes. Yes. Suddenly people are triggered by even tiny amounts of everyday substances, cigarette smoke, antibiotic gas from stoves, that never bothered them before. These people become, in a word, tilted. Very frustrating to try to get these ideas across, Miller said. The major problem is, assuming tilt accurately describes the process of becoming chemically intolerant, we don't know what biological changes occur inside the sensitized body, why so many symptoms crop up, and why one exposed person gets sick while others seem to walk away unscathed. The world becomes a torture chamber, and then nobody believes you. That makes the torture chamber worse. Start believing people. I'm telling you, my health was absolutely fine. Exhaustion was always with me. Okay. Medications put on the market ruined everything. Stroke, chemical sensitivity, light sensitivity, and an awful lot of symptoms. Going through that, were any of my friends, they were, well, just get over it. Did they believe when I did all of that research on the medications that the symptoms were from that? No. And did they care? No. Did they believe it? No. Unfortunately, we live in a society where if people have an experience that other people do not, the people who do not don't believe. And that's really causing an awful lot of injustice and suffering. So that's the worst part, that nobody believes you. After falling ill, some people become hermits out of fear of exposure, abandoning their friends and family to live in remote areas. For others, nothing can keep them from spinning out of control. My mother knew someone who tried to escape her triggers by moving to the country in a trailer. Eventually, even that became unmanageable, so she shot herself in the head. Imagine feeling incredibly sick every time you encounter a cloud of cologne, fresh paint, then being told you're making it up. I thought about my mom. Sometimes catering to her needs could feel exhausting, but what must that have been like for her? The thing was, I never doubted her condition, especially after what happened one bad day. What did she do when she was 10 years old? She attended a family reunion. Trip was difficult. We fought nonstop. Everyone cried. Photographer hired. Exposed the film to light just as well. If we could have wiped the whole week from our minds, we would have. During the ill-fated trip, my aunt gave me scented lip balms. My mom offered her a tight smile, but once we were alone, told me to toss them out. Instead, I hid them and soon weaponized them. After yet another argument, I sneaked into my mom's room, peeled back her pillowcase, and smeared the lip balm directly onto her pillow. Later that night, she kept waking up, sicker and sicker, her head pounding. Finally, her nose helped her uncover what I'd done. She saw the telltale smudges. The next day, my dad told me how she'd sob and howled, "Why would she do this to me?" From that moment on, she never doubted what her mother was going through, because she realized that it was not in her head, but that just, putting lip balm, hiding it by a pillowcase was enough to trigger an illness. Okay, so I'll put the links below the video when it posts. Targeted individuals not believed. Those who have to deal with chemical sensitivity not believed. We cause so much injustice to one another when we don't believe. If you haven't had the experience and you're listening to somebody who's had an experience that is very different from you, there is a tendency for people to not believe, think they're lying or exaggerating. How about just trying to believe them? It's very narcissistic, by the way, to hear somebody's experience, and because your experience is different, you don't believe them, thinking everybody has your experience. And they don't. They don't. Especially not in our fabulous current time. All right. Thank you to all those who are suffering this, and that's the right word. I'm really sorry. Our society has not been good for a very, very long time. And we ain't right. So, maybe I'll see you at 5:30. Ciao, guys.